What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Banter Blitz, believe it or not. Oh, a well-prepared one as usual, because now I have not gained in chess strength. This is not Peter Svidler for Chess 24, but I'm stealing his template, because I messed up mine the other day, as I'm sure you've seen. So let's change this. Challenge. Who do you challenge? Challenge me. Challenge Jan. Let's put in my GM title. GM Jan Gustafsson. Because that's the problem for guys like Svidler. There's no higher title than Grandmaster, so they have to share that title with lower level Grandmasters like yours truly. Anyway, we're going back to that. back to back today, Drake style. I was very rusty in yesterday's session, and as you know, this is most of the competitive chess I get per year nowadays. If we don't count Bundesliga and the Thailand Open, that's pretty much all the chess I play is Banter Blitz. So I need my fix. I need to do some crushing, and we are back on it. And the rules are you challenge me to a 3 or 5 minute game. I tend to prefer 5 minutes because it gives me more time to talk nonsense. Well, in 3 if I forget about the clock, then all of a sudden I'm down to 30 seconds. It's very painful. If you're a Chess 24 premium member, then I shall choose you or not choose you. That's about the system. And we're gonna get right into it. How does this Fiddler template work? I changed this one. See, I only forgot like half of the pre-game work. Let me check in if I can be heard and seen. More or less, it seems like. Now all we need is a move from always blame the mouse. That's too long a name, it breaks this layout. Everybody should have like 3-letter names, in my completely unbiased opinion. E4, C5. This is the move you must play in must-win situations, and since I outright always blame the mouse by more than 1,000 points, even though I'm dropping points at an alarming rate, I have to play for win. To E6 is an interesting move order if you want to avoid bishop b5 systems. Like d6 allows bishop b5 check, knight c6 allows bishop b5. Well, the sidelines against e6 like c3 or b3 or g3, they're not all that dry. So in order to play for a win, I've always thought this was a decent move order to employ. Now after knight c3, queen c7, we're back in Campman territory. Robin van Kampen has done a very good video series on what you English-speaking people call the Taimanov. Us Germans call it the Paulsen. But I believe in English-speaking chess territory, it is called the Taimanov. A3 is a playable move, but it's always been a bit weird to me. It's defending against b5, b4, but it doesn't seem a priority to play a3 here. Maybe he wanted to stop bishop b4. But in general, the biggest test is either the so-called English attack, queen d2, long castle, f3, g4, or the very trendy queen f3 line, preparing long castle and horsing around with the queen on the king side. And in case you're wondering why I keep using the phrase horsing around, it is because I finally got obsessed with BoJack Horseman. I've been binge watching is too strong because I haven't had that much time, but every free minute I've been watching BoJack Horseman. Ignoring my infant daughter because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the life of a fictional horse that is dealing with post-career depression in Hollywood. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now that the World Championship is over. We're watching BoJack. By we, I mean me. BoJack, Rick and Morty, all the good stuff. As for the game, I'm doing very well because his knight takes c6 and then e takes d5, c takes d5 has strengthened my center without gaining a lead in development really. So always blame the mouse, I believe is already worse here. Once again, I'm aware I'm outrating him by 1,000 points and I should not get too braggadocious about my good position, but I am trying to explain some chess concepts as well, even though I'm sometimes struggling with those. Bishop g5 is a good move, distracting me on the king side when, yeah, I'm not sure. Bishop f6 I do not want to allow. Therefore, I will go here with the bishop. but it does have a slightly artificial feel to it. So at knight d7 or bishop e7, therefore I went with this, but the bishop is a little exposed. So not all that sure if this was the correct way to approach it. After f4, I can either take on c3 or go bishop d4 check. Bishop takes f6 is only good if it's connected with a very direct idea. Else it's giving me the two bishops for pretty much nothing, which in the long run is a tremendous asset. I'm aware these stressful times of ours, long run is no longer that important. But even Magnus Carlsen came very close to converting the two bishop advantage against Sergei Karjakin in that game number 4 of their match. But Karjakin played some incredibly heroic defense and saved the game. Always blame the mouse. Might claim bishop f6 was a mouse slip, but it doesn't look like he has a forceful follow-up. And then, yeah, you should really not part ways with that bishop so easily. Rook b1. I could take on c3, but that would pronounce my slightly dumb bishop on b7, and while opening the b file, especially after rook b1 for the white rook, which does not strike me as a great plan. Now, I'm not 100% sure what to do. I'll try to gain space in the center. This has the small drawback that it gives his pieces some squares, and he correctly jumps at the opportunity to relocate this bishop with bishop f5. But I'm hoping this is only a temporary solution, and that with g6 the bishop can be harassed further. White should probably go c3, g6, bishop back to c2, preparing for the potentially harmful things that I want to do to him in the center. He goes queen c3. Now I could take and reach a very pleasant endgame, but I don't want to exchange queens. Queen b6 he might insist with queen b4. I should probably take, but I really don't want to. Alright, let's go here. I'm trying to push these pawns in one order or another to increase my spatial advantage and maybe build a passed d-pawn. We shall see where that journey takes us. Also, I want to win this bishop by g6 and then some e4 or h5 if it goes here. So many ideas. Just start with this, knight d4, g6, bishop g4, h5, bishop e2. Doesn't get the job done, so I guess I'll start with this. The problem is after bishop d3. Whoa, queen g3. Did not see that one coming, but I don't think I mind it. Because now my bishop reaches a safe haven, and I think this bishop might be short off squares. Short on squares? Low on squares? Low energy? Nah, no more low energy jokes. Stuff got too real. But it's trapped, right? Bishop g4, f5, bishop f3, e4, bishop d3, e4. Locked up, they won't let me out. More discussion about my age. I am 37 years old, so don't be fooled by my youthful and useful appearance. I'm a very old man. Very wise man too. Not Len Wiseman, but still reasonably wise. I did watch all the underworld movies, as most 37-year-olds have. And I'm trying not to make this all about movies, but I think I had explained the intricacies of the position, and always blame the mouse realizes the same thing. Or maybe he's watching the stream and he saw that I spotted that he's going to lose a bishop, therefore he resigns. Thank you for the game. And yeah, in the future, a3 we could argue about, but don't go for this knight takes c6, b takes c, especially bishop d3, d5, f, e takes d. It's not a good idea, it's giving me the whole center. If you get the structure, you want to keep the tension, castle, h3, queen f3. But in general, don't exchange pawns toward or pieces so I can capture toward the center, because I'll claim that center. That's me pretending to understand pawn structures instead of just playing move by move, which of course is what I really do. Let's continue with Mishat 2000. Is that like Andre 3000, just 1,000 less? Mishat 2000? Or is it your chess playing strength? Or your date of birth? Could be so many things. Nowadays you have people born in the year 2000 that are able to speak, walk, purchase alcohol in the right place. I'm not even sure. In the US you gotta be 21 to buy alcohol. I know that much because I was in New York on my 21st birthday, and it doesn't mean much in Germany because we have lower drinking ages, but in New York it's apparently a very big deal. So I do know that. I believe in Germany if you're 16 can you buy beer? I don't know how it works. I believe in the 90s when I was young. That was the case. Anyway, chess. We played the Nimzo-Indian with 4 queen c2, d5, a3, and after bishop takes c3, to my surprise, Mishat played b takes c3, when the obvious move is queen takes d3. That is the reason why you played queen c2, one would guess. Still, of course, it's not a ridiculous move, but this move a3 looks a little, or queen c2 looks a little superfluous in the structure. I could have played c5, cd, knight d5, similar to what they do after f3, but I've decided to go with this, which is a little more double-edged. Black has to act quite quickly here, because if white is allowed to develop, let's say e3, bishop d3, knight e2, he would have a structural advantage and the 2 bishops, which I just praised. So I gotta make something happen before that happens. Did that make sense? Yeah, well. Let's make something happen. Queen a5 parries the threat of bishop takes h7. And more importantly, I'm trying to change the structure. Still not too happy, but after knight e2, I want to go c takes d4. Before he can recapture with the c pawn due to this pin. And after c takes d4, e takes d4, which we'll probably play, the structure is a little less scary for me. I will go b6, bishop a6, something along those lines, and hope to be okay. I takes with the knight, also legal, which once again induces a structure change, because I believe I should still act quickly. And I will go knight e4. That once again should be taken. And after d takes e4, the main idea is that he misses queen takes g5. But if he does spot that, I'm gonna have to make moves like knight c5, bishop d7, with more or less equality maybe. I do think that is a fair assessment, because I do support fair trade and fair assessments. I'm not sure that's true. I went on this rant the other day. Anyway, not going there. Bishop e7 I did not see coming. The point is after rook a8 to go bishop b4. It's an interesting idea, but the bishop on b4 looks like, to continue with last game's theme, might not have too many squares either if I can hit it with a5 ASAP. It could end up in a bit of trouble. Interesting game so far against Miss Hat 2000. I'm not sure what the Miss Hat stands for. And the 2000 we've already speculated about. But it could be, since it's winter time, that he just does miss a hat. I do not know. He played a4 to create this a3 square for the bishop. And with my useful abandon, reckless abandon, I believe is the phrase, I decided to sacrifice this pawn. I saw this, but honestly, my idea was to play queen a6 here to stop castles and threaten knight d3 check. But now I'm having second thoughts about the move knight b5 in reply. So I will change plans, play bishop g4. The point is if he castles, I go knight f3 check, winning the queen for a bunch of material, but would still favor me. While if he moves the queen, then I'll find something useful to do, hopefully, like queen a6 or some way to keep white busy before he can finish development and earn the fruits of his pawn grabbing. How do I do it though? This is the other question. I guess sooner or later I have to go for this move, threatening this check. My point is I want to meet knight b5 with queen c6. Not only to parry all the fork threats, but also to, once again, slightly discourage castles. I haven't seen a force win after castles, but I have a feeling some combination of knight f3 or bishop f3 or bishop h3 should be kind of unpleasant for white to meet. I hope that feeling can be supported by facts. Then again, facts are no longer that relevant these days, as we've established. Maybe it can't actually. Knight f3, g, f, bishop f3, there's knight d4. Oh, sorry, this probably does not look like a great thinking position on camera. What to do? Bishop f3, also knight d4. He's just calling my bluff. And there's nothing I can do about it. Bishop h3 is also tempting, but then f3, or f4 even. Can't see a great way to proceed either. So no, I've been outsmarted by Mr. Mishap. It's a bit of a mishap. No tricks? There must be something I can do. Maybe I just have to count my losses here. Make a move. But what move? Nah, it's nothing. Very sad. My position is still not that terrible, but this was not the plan. Nope, I'm gonna have to readjust. A6 is a bad move. I just didn't know what to do since all my tricks didn't work. So I just played a random move. Long think random move, normally a recipe for disaster and blitz. But such is life sometimes. Now I'm just a pawn down with little to show for it. It's opposite colored bishops and all that stuff. But I honestly thought there should be some trick, but maybe there just wasn't. Queen a2, okay. Prepare for the endgames to come. The endgames to come? I still have a bit of compensation for the missing pawn. That's why I've fixed this pawn on a4, hoping to give my bishop some work later after bishop d7. But I'm not gonna pretend that this was all part of my grandmasterly plan. It's kind of not. Some shuffling. I hope the b6 pawn will not turn out to be weaker than white stuff on the king side. Rook b1, good move. But maybe bad timing, because I can still hit him with bishop f5 and he can't stay on the b file. Or parry it with e4, so yeah, he admits it might not have been a great idea. And I'm feeling myself a little bit and will continue to try to chase him back a little. Knight c1 is forced. That's not a pleasant move to make, which is why it cost Mishap some time, and he might miss that time on the clock later. As for the position, nothing much has happened. White is too solid that all these gestures of mine have much of an impact. f3, however, if you give me a pawn, I will normally gladly accept your sacrifice to Caissa. Wow, that sounds cheesy. I don't think I've ever used that line or will ever use it again. But I like pawns. I will stop holding all my psychobabble positional play speeches if there's a pawn to be grabbed. Might be another pawn to be grabbed. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Now things are looking quite okay. Not only on the board, but also on my favorite part of the game, the clock. He's gonna threaten checkmate, which is a good practical decision because he is low on time. Ah, no, should have threatened checkmate, come on. Like this, how can you win? Gotta go for the mate. And Mishap or Mishati, also possible. Explanation of the name does lose on time. Interesting game where, yeah, I thought I was doing well, but maybe was unwarranted optimism. Challenge. Did I spell challenge correctly? Yeah. Let's find a new challenger. Do we have any new premium members? A lot of action here during the World Chess Championship. Let's see. Looks like they've all abandoned us, and it's the same old faces, but I do appreciate you guys being around. So don't take that as me complaining. It's back to our safe little retreat here, talking about all kinds of nonsense. I clicked on the strongest name I could find. Not the strongest name necessarily, the strongest player I could find. Scrolling through my list, Mr. Alexandre Potier. Sounds très français to me. Yeah, and he is indeed from France. 2526, ladies and gentlemen. I shall go for... I was going to go for the Nimzo-Indian, but he goes for the Queen's Gambit. Declinet. That is the correct pronunciation. Let's see if he plays his bishop f5 line. No, he goes for bishop e7, keeping it mainstream. Bishop d3. In my youth, I was taught that you should start with queen c2 here to stop knight e4. When then there's bishop e7, queen e7, knight d5. But nowadays they like all these funky setups, like bishop to g4. Maybe bishop g4 is actually a reason to start with queen c2. Or knight h5. I have a feeling it might make sense once in a while to start not with queen c2, but with, what was I going to say? Bishop d3. This bishop g4 is a very sound idea. He's trying to exchange this bishop, even though it costs a bit of time. I've played it in a very similar position myself against Konstantin Landa in one of my rare tournament games. And I've always thought this was a decent idea. What to do? I will accept this exchange of bishops, pretend that the time he's had to spend on getting this exchange has benefited me to finish development and... Whoa! Don't make complicated moves. I'll get confused. Anyway, I should... Can I take here? Yeah, I think so. Probably should have thought that through. Knight h5. In general, it's a very worthy cause for black to exchange pieces. I'm still arguing that it did cost him some time, which hopefully I can use for something, but I'm not 100% sure what that something that I'm looking for is. Now bishop g6, I'm getting ready to meet it with e4, creating some imbalances. Even though e4 in these structures, you always got to be very careful because there's this d takes e4, f takes e4, c5 idea that is not always in white's favor, to put it mildly. I'm not putting it that mildly, that's pretty much the general sentiment. I'm still bluffing this e4 thing, but after bishop g6, e4, once again I'm not sure. d, e, f, e, queen f2, where something takes f2, king takes, let's say, and c5. And I do not think I have all that much there. Because the structure after d5 is fine for black. Gains the square on e5 for his knight. And else, yeah, every structure is fine for black, that's the problem. He does call my bluff, unfortunately. I'm not going to be able to do it. So I guess I have to take here. It's not very pleasant. Now I'll go e4 just to keep up this suspense. Now at least this d, e, f, e, c5 reply is no longer there. But so many pieces have been exchanged that I'm not sure my quest for an advantage is very realistic here. I'm not sure what to do either. d5 is a move and e5 is a move. I think I'll play d5 because it feels a little... Not even sure if it feels right. It gives up this e5 square. Felt more active. But e5 intending knight e4, let's say knight b6, knight e4. Something to d5, knight d6 was also very plausible. Is that a word? Sounds like a word. Not sure. I'm never sure about anything. That's the tragedy of chess. You never know if your move is right or not. Or I don't. Sometimes you do know. Like if you recapture a piece. If you wouldn't recapture, you'd be a piece down. Then you can be fairly certain. But a lot of the time, there is this crippling uncertainty. Queen g5. What kind of move is that? What's the point? Could go rook f5. Not sure that accomplishes much. Just listing options. Could also go, say, a4, cd, ed, knight d5, rook e5, knight c3. Oh, that actually works for black here. That's unfortunate. Okay, then I'll do this because I don't have time to think. Now a4, you once again want cd, huh? Alexandre, I can read you like a book. h4 is a weird move to make. Alright, let's retreat. Another weird move. Drifting a little bit, but time is running out. Not really, actually. Point of queen f2 is to unpin and prepare cd, ed, but the queen was nicely placed on d4. Normally, retreating your most powerful piece from the center is a flawed concept. And black could even think about something like cd, ed, knight c8, maybe trying to put this knight on d6. Not sure, I'm not claiming much here. All I want is a little bit f6. Confusing move, but maybe even that's okay. All I wanted was a new Mercedes. I don't know what to do. It feels like his pieces are... Oof! Bad move, bad move, bad move. Rook d2. Ay. It was so passive that I didn't even pay any attention to active looking moves. I should try to start playing better. Else it's gonna be this super self-conscious, where's my mojo gone, rant all over again. And who wants that? But yeah, these rook d2 ideas scare me. Like even queen takes c6 might have been possible, but rook d2 still didn't want any part of it. So I went back, which, yeah, I'm not sure. It feels like the weaknesses of the... Does this work? Queen c6, knight e5, queen c7. I don't know. I guess I should take this guy. The knight gets active, but I got a pawn, so everybody wins something. Knight d3 was a threat, which I'm trying to sidestep by rook ef1, h5. Very aggressive once again. I guess I should play... Ah, no. My phone is ringing. Bad time. If you're watching the show, whoever's calling, I'll call you back. Probably. a3 I was reluctant to move earlier because it does create weaknesses. But sometimes gotta give in to that. Knight e2, the point is rook h3, knight f4. But queen takes e4 is kind of legal. So I'm not sure that was a brilliant decision. And I gotta be a tiny bit careful now, because Alexandre's pieces are very active. And who likes active pieces all in their grill? Not me. Oof. Knight f3, king h1. I'm hoping I'm not overdoing it here. But this I thought he could not do. Can you do that? Let's calculate. Rook e3, rook h3, gh. Okay, done calculating. No, I lied. I also calculated rook g2, queen g2. So I am winning here because of the over-optimistic queen takes f4. But before that, anybody's guess who's better and why here. Even if you just go back. No clue. Very interesting fight against Alexandre Potier. Not Potter. No, Potier. And yeah, thanks for the game. Let's play against our friend Clash City Rocker from the Canadas. As you might have seen on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I'm very close to 9,000 followers. It's not like I keep track of it. It's not like I know that I have 8,993 right now and that my self-worth is defined by it. But follow at GM Jan Gustafsson on Twitter and you will learn interesting tidbits like me being an expert on Canadian geography, while Peter Svidler not having a clue really. I know it's maybe bad style to throw him under the bus now that he's left, and it might be not very well. See, I can't even speak English. It might not mask my jealousy of his chess and commentating skills very well. But that's what us jealous, lowly people do. We'll backstab you. So Peter Svidler, no clue about Canadian geography. I'm a big expert. I know places like London, birthplace of Justin Bieber. Well, I had to look it up, but I do know a lot of theory about the Evans Gambit. And I should probably talk about that. Clash City Rocker, big theoretician. Who knew? Is this still theory to take on d4 here? Sure, there's other moves. d6, knight g4, d5. Now let's take. Show me what you got, Mr. Rocker. I think we've had the discussion about the whereabouts of Mr. Clash City Rocker's name before, but I forgot all about it. Status quo is I'm a pawn up, but it's sort of a garbagey pawn here, the double H pawn. While white has a nice pawn center and two horses versus two. I still do believe that horsey is the correct term. Versus two bishops, and since it's a bit unfair to be a pawn up, I thought I'd blunder that pawn away instantly by missing queen b5 check. Queen d7, queen takes b7, which is kind of painful here because I forfeited my castling rights when I went rook g8. So here we go again with me underestimating Mr. Rocker because of his lowly, it's not really that low even, because of his 1800 rating, making careless decisions. Now I'm steaming, and I'll give him another pawn, which he, without thinking for even a second, not even for 1 second, does he believe this could be a grandmasterly trap. No, queen takes a7 instantly, and he's of course right, it wasn't a grandmasterly trap at all, but I do hope that he blunders his queen now. Knight c3, rook a8. That's about the extent of tarping you're gonna get here. Sometimes it works. See, I'm cunning like that. Once again, get no respect from Clash City Rocker. Queen down? Who cares? We've seen Jan blow better positions. It's all true, unfortunately. But here I'm optimistic, because not only I also have the two bishops. And one of the good things about the two bishops is you can give one of them up to exchange them for a knight whenever you feel like. Here I felt like, mainly because I had missed that instead of a4 he can go rook ab1. But looks like Clash City Rocker missed it too. And now, if I'm not mistaken, I do have a pretty significant lead in material on the board. Even f4, which is normally a nice attacking move, is harder to execute if you're fighting against a queen that can enter your territory like that. And therefore, Clash City Rocker does resign. Thank you for the game. And I'm back to the very tough part of the show. Choosing an opponente. What about this guy? That's not his name, but I clicked on somebody. CHK Harubi. From where are you from, Mr. CHK? And we learn in his profile that the CHK stands for Clifton H. Karubi from the United States of America. I will go e4, e5, best by test. After knight f3, I will defend my central pawn. Let's see if we get... Oh, we do get another Italian. For variety's sake. Last game I played bishop c5, ran into the Evans Gambit. This game I shall play knight to f6. He plays d3, the classical move here. I will play one of these systems, these junky systems I sometimes play, to keep pieces on the board. h6 stopping knight g5. And the plan is to go d6, bishop g7, castles, keep everything on the board, and be only slightly worse, pretty much. It's not the greatest of plans. Bishop c5 is objectively a better move than all of this. I have little doubts about it, but as mentioned, it does keep a little more tension in the position, which sometimes is nice. Drawback is, since I'm such a mainstream, not only person, but also chess player, I struggle finding the right plans in such positions, but I'm willing to wing it, to wing it. And sacrifice this pawn for what hopefully will turn out to be a lethal mating attack on the king side. Not so sure if that judgment is accurate, but it looked interesting, like King's Indian-ish. I'm aware I don't have that many pieces running around here at this very moment, but they can join the action reasonably quickly. And if I get in, let's say queen f6, rook ag8, things could become dangerous for CH Harubi. Or at least that's the plan. We'll see how it works out. He goes here, I go here. He should probably develop some peace. I should probably set up some devilish traps. Is devilish a word? I don't know, I keep using it. I'm not so sure about the wordness of devilish. However, I want to go rook takes g2, followed by queen takes h3. I can tell you, because I am assuming you're not watching. Not that easy to stop. Knight e1 looks outrageously passive, and I might have moved like rook g3, just rubbing it in. h4 does stop my threat. It's also not a pretty move to make a rook g4, for example. So yeah, I believe my judgment might have been borderline correct on this one, that I do get a bit of an initiative for that pawn. I do not see a defense, to be perfectly frank with you. Knight e1 rook g3 is kind of an important little trick. Or I don't know if it's important. That's nice. Okay, bishop h3 would also win. Might not be that important. I don't know. My opponent taking his time here. But even if I saw a defense and I would be willing to share it, no, then I would actually share it, but I don't see one. And this allows my main idea, right? I believe it does, but as mentioned, I did not see a way out anyway, and therefore CH Harubi resigns because rook g2. Queen takes h3, followed by queen takes g2 is checkmate. Who is next? I don't know, man. Let's play somebody new, like Mr. Zeffini. Zeffini? Is that Francais? Francais for it's all over? Zeffini? No, I think he's Spanish, so it probably has a different meaning. I will play the Trompowsky because I think that's a hilarious play on words. Used to be called the Trompowsky. But now that we have President Trump, or President-elect Trump, oof, doesn't sound better. The Trompowsky is all the rage in the chess community. Bishop f6 is not the only move. You could go d5 or dc5 or knight c3. This leads to sort of a weird structure. In my youth, when I was more of a Trompowsky student, after bishop g7, they used to play c4, f5, knight c3, stuff like that. I don't know, it's a very strange structure. Black has the two bishops, and the strange double pawn is a very non-standard position to play. I think I want to go c4, knight c3, then jump around with the knight, take it from there, but I haven't really thought it all through, to be honest with you. And that rhymes, and whatever rhymes is true. Now, more than ever, I want to go knight e2, knight g3 to block the g file, then put my bishop on d3 to target the h7 pawn. So that is the current micro plan in the current microclimate. Another word that sounds smart, but I do not really know what it means. I know what a microverse is. I learned that from Rick and Morty, but microclimate? Bishop f5, does that make me change plans? Nah, I don't think so. Because after knight g3, I'm assuming he wants bishop g6, but then I could harass the bishop a little bit with h4, h5 maybe. Or even f4, f5. Maybe f4 is more like it, because if I go h4, there's knight e5, and he can use the d3 square. So I'll start with f4, covering e5, and hopefully threatening f5, and make c'est fini worry about it. Why do I have to worry about it? You worry about it. Let's continue chasing. Does soften up Mr. g3 a little, but I was hoping that the best for black could do was something like f6, h5, bishop f7, where Mr. g3 would have a glorious re-entry on f5 anyway. Here we go, f6. And Bojack has reached a pretty dominating post on f5. C'est fini is trying to open the position, which is fair enough, because else it was quite unpleasant. Positionally, he's in real trouble because the light squares are so weak, but I have to be cautious with my king on f2, of course. Queen c6 does not pose that big a challenge, because I can block with tempo while increasing my light square control, so that actually helps me. Maybe I should have started with long castles. And d5 looks like steaming, doesn't it? Things didn't go according to plan, so you use gasoline to extinguish the flames. Is that an expression? I'm obsessed with flames expressions, but I always get them wrong, which is why I get flamed a lot on the internet. If there's one weak spot about my moderating broadcasting skills, I believe it is the flames expressions. However, I took a lot of your pieces, c'est fini. I'm like a rook and a piece up. It's a lot of stuff. That is impossible odds to overcome against, I would say, any grandmaster. Oh, I should have taken here to threaten bishop g6 checkmate, but I didn't. I'll do it now. Because it looks like I'm just greedily grabbing a pawn. That is the main idea. But it's a nice little bonus to threaten mate on 1. He has to stop it. Not my problem. That's my new attitude. Did stop it, maybe. By vacating the d8 square. That's sad. I was really counting on the game to end this way, but it won't. Very sad. It's not like I'm in trouble, but now we have this awkward silence to embrace. And in true boring handbook of chess culture style, I shall simplify to an endgame. Instead of going for checkmate, let's exchange queens and play this endgame where maybe c'est fini finds time to do a body count, and yeah, he does. He realizes it doesn't look good. Therefore, let's go home. Thanks for the game, c'est fini. And c'est fini now indeed. Sorry for all the name puns. I know it's a sad form of humor. But what to do? Let's stay in France. Ah, no, c'est fini was actually Spanish. But let's play a Frenchman, Captain the TT, FIDE Master. You know what? I'll be brave and I'll play e4, not my favorite move, against the captain. But I'll probably play something chicken next move. See, here we go. Bishop b5. No d4 for you. Even though bishop b5 nowadays, I'm not sure we can call it chicken. It's pretty much the main move in this position. He goes g6 when, I believe the other day, I played bishop c6. That is the main line here. But why not change things up once in a while? Not all the time, but once in a while we should change things a little bit to keep life and chess interesting. This line, is this a line? Yeah, this is a line from my childhood. They played either e5 knight, d5 knight, c3 or c3 castles, d4, d5. Unfortunately, both were fine for black. Well, you can't have everything. Let's see how the captain feels about it. I haven't looked at this line in literally, and I know that's misusing literally, ages. So not up to date, but last time I did check, d5 was considered to be a good move here. When, yeah, white is nothing. But I will try to disprove that notion over the board. No, but first of all, it looks like the captain is aware of all these things, which is already very frustrating. Secondly, I don't think the verdict has changed over all these years. Not sure why I took on c6 so quickly. I believe it's something you might have to do sooner or later. But here, c5 could very well be a good move, changing the structure. In general, yeah, wow, captain the TT, big champion of chess. What was I going to say? In general, the structure is of course fine for black. What white is hoping here is that the bishop on g7 turns out to be too passive. But I think because of my move order, even that hope is sort of improbable. Bishop g4. What do I do? I guess I have to go h3, right? Clarify this bishop's intentions. You can throw in rook b8 if you wanna. You don't have to. It's really up to you. Let's see what the captain decides on. I wonder if, when choosing his username, he said to himself, I am the captain now. Probably not. I also wonder what the TT stands for. But instead of wondering all these things, I should probably focus on TT position on the board, where I do not really have an edge. Which is unfortunate, because I enjoy having an edge. Do not enjoy not having one. I know I'm a complex case. First order of business. e6 looks too loose, like f3, followed by e5. I would like to develop this bishop. Don't see a great square for it. Could put it on g5, then queen d7, d1. Yeah, I'm not better. But what to do? Sometimes you just gotta make a move, even though you know you're not better. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view on life, the game does not end just because you're not better. Problem is I don't really have a plan. Like pushing my queenside majority does not look like a realistic option. And yeah, these gestures on the king side also do not really seem like they're leading towards a flawless victory. So yeah, life is tough. I would like to go h5, but I'm trying to figure out if h6 followed by g5 bothers me then. Probably bothers me a little bit, but does it bother me enough? I don't know. Guess I gotta do it for better or worse. Probably for worse. I have this song in my head, which by the way is one beef I have with the English language. You don't have a good word for having a song stuck in your head. In German we call it Ohrwurm, which literally translates to earworm. And it is a good explanation for these situations. And you know what? I'll recklessly give up all my pawns and fish for tricks here. Because that's how you lose chess games. Or win, but more often than not lose. In my case, at least. Because I'm not a very good fisher for tricks. Rook takes b2. I was hoping I could make something happen here. After hg, fg, something. But I don't really see it. And Captain the TT is very unimpressed with my antics. Probably rightly so. What to do? I'll activate the rook and hope for the best. h7. Obviously, if I take, he wants to recapture with the queen. All very understandable. But can I hurt his feelings? Or at least his position, if not his feelings somehow. Feels like there should be something, but I cannot see it. Very sad. Nope, still don't see it. Nah, I got nothing. Is there nothing? Let's do something. Can't see it. Intensive staring at the position did not help. Thought about takes and then rook c6, but then he had queen b, rook b1 check and queen takes e5 check. So I played this random mish move g3, trying to secure my king. I didn't see a refutation of rook takes a2 or any move really, but I thought it was worth it. Now I'll take before this pawn becomes too much of a nuisance and go here. Queen e5, hopefully queen f7 will make good things happen for me. Well, if not queen e5, then at least I'm targeting this guy and I can think of ideas. Rook b6 looks like a good move, which I missed. Yeah, rook b6 is a problem. Real big problem. Queen b7, I missed too. How big of a problem is that? Unpin then think, or is rook b6 a threat again? I could try to make a draw with queen f6, but I don't want to. Do I have any half-sensible alternative though? I guess not, huh? Nah, looks like everything else is just kind of bad for me. b6, yeah, can't do that. That's very sad. Well, yeah, what can I say? I didn't really outplay the captain. So he deserves, well, he might actually play for a win. It's not out of the question at all, d3 or whatever, rook b1 check. But he deserves the draw, which he chose. Well played by Captain the TT. And once again, yeah, it's a bit of a worry that I'm kind of weakish in 1 e4 positions. But good game. Can't complain too much about it. Let's play somebody else. Is there anybody else? What about this guy? A.N. Fego? Anfego from Colombia? All right. Back to d4. Back to safer waters. Or I'm jinxing myself here already. But I've always been more of a d4 than an e4 guy. And I've always been a very boring player. So, excitement! The exchange Slav is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. I do think that the exchange Slav is as good as an opening as pretty much anything else you can do against the Slav. It's of course not winning, but then again, what is? Popular opinion is that the exchange Slav has a little more bite with, what was I gonna say? E3 without, how do you do this? Knight to f3, but I disagree. Queen b6 is a move I'm not familiar with. Bishop b5 looks logical, but I have a feeling I should be able to sacrifice this pawn now. Let's see if he really wants to take it, because if not, then the queen on b6 could turn out to be a little misplaced after knight a4 winning some time, for example. So yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but probably for a good reason, because queen b2, knight b5, I guess, was asking for a bit of trouble. Not that this is winning or anything, but at least I'm gaining some tempi, chasing Her Majesty around. Of Queen d8. I might play the same game and try queen b3 myself. See what happens there. Well, if queen a5, well, queen b3 could be a move again, but I could also go a3, b4 and try to grab some extra space on the queen side. We'll see. Taking a lot of time here. Unfago, and he goes queen a5. Probably, possibly the correct decision. What do I know? I'll stick with the plan I just outlined. Grab a bit of space and see what happens. Thinking once again. What are you thinking about? You got a castle at some point. Maybe he's contemplating knight h5, going after this bishop. It's always a topic to keep an eye on for, but it feels like asking for trouble here without the king in the center and with the amount of time he's already lost. Moving the queen around, I do not believe that's a good idea. b5 is another move that does look like a little bit too much, but he does go b5. So what options do I have? Knight c5 is, of course, the obvious candidate. Knight c3 doesn't look bad at all either. Queen c1 is a move targeting this guy. So many options, but you know what? I think I'll keep it simple. Jump here. He's gonna take, I'm assuming. And after castles b4, my advantage is not huge, but it is certainly there. There's some troubles with the b5 pawn. My bishop can go to d6, my knight can jump to e5. So it does look like a pleasant position. Plus, yeah, black does not have a convenient way to cover this pawn. Queen a4, I guess I could take and go bishop b5. Queen a6, I'm gonna very seriously consider, and then probably blitz out the move a4. So yeah, it's a troublesome situation. Now this pawn is here to stay, unless you take it, but then I'll be up a piece. So yeah, as I said, the exchange Slav has some fangs, some claws. Do you say fangs? Or is that reserved for vampires? Whoa, I missed 93. Does that work at all? Let's think of the biggest possible punishment. I like this move. Fe3 is winning, I'm a piece up, but this move looks even crueler. Attacking the queen, if queen d8, then c7 covers the bishop, and if, yeah, not many options, so Unfago resigns. And we will find another opponent. Oh, another titled guy. So many titlers. Oh no, I think I clicked on somebody else than the title guy. But I might get back to the title guy. But for now I clicked on Mr. Stormbird. And why not play 1g3 against this Stormbird? He's expecting a storm, so we will give him quiet. More phone calls. I believe there's people out there that do set their alarms for, oh, Jan is live on air talking nonsense. I shall call him relentlessly. A6. B3 maybe? I'm not sure about B3. Yeah, probably not B3. What to do? Okay, it's time to stop playing ridiculously and think about the game. Knight d2 makes some amount of sense because it might be threatening cb5. Clarifies the situation, but I'm not at all sure if clarifying the situation benefits me here. Weird position. I have a feeling I'm not better. Why would I be better? Why should I be better? And some tough decisions to be made. That's the good thing about stuff like Exchange Slav. It's much more autopilot-y, at least for me, than this weird structure. But I have a feeling that I should play c5 before he plays c5 to keep this bishop locked up. And I also have a feeling, that feeling is less strong, that maybe I want to fight against e5 by going f4. Knight g4 is a little awkward to mate, but I thought I can go rook f3, worst case scenario. And yeah, there we go. Stormbird. You could go f5, try to keep the position very closed, which would be a very valid strategy. Goes a5, similar intentions. I think I'll chase this knight away, see where it wants to go. If knight h6, I'll go g4. Gain a bit more space. If knight f6, I'll probably go g4 to gain a bit more space. And I don't have to think of another thing to say. So here we are. I don't know, I don't understand these close positions well. I'm guessing I'm a little better because of all this space I grabbed. But do not ask me what I'm planning to do next. I don't believe in long-term planning. No 5-year plan here. I don't even know what I'm gonna do this weekend. I believe I'm gonna try to find some excuses for not going to the Christmas market. Might go to the gym. Might finish BoJack Horseman. I'm gonna have to catch up on emails and all that stuff. Apologies to... I don't know, I should stop. The apologies segment is coming later. No apologies for anything to anybody. Ever. Not ever. Like, yet. Knight e8, rook f2, kind of a pointless move, but I want to rule out bishop e2. And maybe clear this knight for my square. Or the square for my knight. Depends on your feelings on English grammar or what makes sense. f6 is kind of provoking me into playing e4, which could be a good move or a terrible move. I'm leaning towards good, which is why I played it. If he has to go e6, at least I have some newly defined targets I can try to attack. And at least they say the good thing about a space advantage is that you can oftentimes shuffle your pieces around more quickly with more space than with less space. Very well ended sentence. I don't know. Bishop h6? I'm not gonna lie. A little awkward to meet. f5 looks like a bit of a crime against chess because of all these dark squares I'm weakening. But once again, I'm banking on my space advantage, especially this pawn and this pawn, to control his horses. And if he has to go g5, then I'll be in pretty good shape. Well, g f5, queen f5, I couldn't see any immediate punishment. But that's actually interesting, then knight g7. Mr. Stormbird is not all that impressed with all my boring maneuvering thoughts and instead goes for the kill. Which, yeah, I don't like it when they go for the kill, but he's probably very justified in doing so. At least I'm going to have to think now. Who likes to think? Can't move this rook because this rook is hanging. That much I've spotted. Knight f3 is not what I wanted, really. Bishop e3 might be a threat, which is why fg is not clearly a great idea. Might still be best, but it's all a little awkward. I'll do it though. Let's see what happens. Let's make something happen. This includes an exchange sacrifice. Oh, he went bishop d2. Good thing that my pre-move still makes sense, but bishop d2 I did not see coming. I was sure he was going to go bishop e3. Anyway, now I don't understand what Stormbird's calculus was. Now I'm just material up, and there's no real threats as far as I can tell. Bishop e3 was critical. Takes king h8 or king h7, no, king h8, knight f3, bishop f2, queen f2, and I thought I had good compensation, but I have been wrong before. Like once, not often. Queen h6, rook e8. No win yet. BT. We'll go here. Allez. This looks like an unpleasant move to face. Threatening queen g7 checkmate. And knight e8, well, there's many wins. Rook d7 probably easiest. So yeah, now Stormbird is in trouble, but he played very interestingly. Knight, like bishop e3 instead of bishop d2, and anything can happen. That's a bit of a weird pre-move, but I'm preparing myself for the rook g8 scenario. Wasn't prepared for the knight e6 scenario. I guess I'll take. It ain't over till it's over. Rook e8, and I still gotta keep an eye on all these entry squares. But I think I will keep an eye. Still, it's probably the best chance is knight e6. I had not seen that coming. Queen d3 once again. Not sure if that accomplishes so much, because I will go back to plan A, threaten a queen g7 checkmate, and there's not many checks. There's one here, but they don't help much. And that's why Mr. Stormbird does resign. Thank you for the game. Let's find somebody else. Oh yeah, I want to play the other titled player, Mr. Black Falcon. Why am I white every game? Not that I'm complaining, but I'm starting to feel like this is not very fair. Give me black. Not Black Falcon, but the black pieces. When's the black... Hang on. I can't recall any black games at all. I think early in the show there were some, but my memory does not go back that far. I haven't purchased this chip yet, which I saw on Black Mirror the other day, where you get like buy a database for 30 years of, or a bunch of decades of memory. Then you can scroll back to any situation. It looked like a very useful thing to have, and from how I understood the episode, it also does contribute to human happiness. But yeah, I don't have that one yet, so I can't like scroll back to 30 minutes ago. Black Falcon is not around, which is a pity. Then let's find a noob. By noob, I mean somebody I've never played before. How about, I think Mr. Trollfjord Paddler. Don't think we've met Trollfjord Paddler. Looks like fan of Norway, because referring to trolls is more Iceland. And I don't mean internet trolls, actual trolls. They live in Iceland. They're fiction, the rest of the world. Iceland, full of them. But fjords, do you have fjords in Iceland? I thought fjords was more of a Norwegian thing. Anyway, we have another Nimzo-Indian. That's a thing anywhere. I went for the e3 line. c5 knight g2 is an interesting move, and here the direct d5 leads to some confusion on my part. It's a typical idea, but this move order I'm not so familiar with. Like normally they go cd, ed, d5, or castles, or many things, but here I'm not sure. After this cd, ed, I can either go dc, which looks interesting, or I thought this might also favor me. If takes, then knight takes, and I'll have the two bishops with pretty harmonious arrangement, as we say. We don't say that. Pretty harmonious setup. And after cd, ab, I had some hopes that this was nice for me too. Here, this is less clear cut, because I have to keep an eye on d5, d4 counterplay. But it still felt like a pleasant position. I do have the two bishops, which is always money in the bank for later. And this pawn on b4 is not really weak, because it can go to b5, restrict the black pieces a bit. So I quite like this. This bishop will go to b2 or a3. The queen has a nice little square on d4. It's a pleasant little position. And I don't know why my accent changes randomly. Queen c7. Yeah, I guess I'll just go here. Queen d4 does not run away. Oh, actually knight eg4. Gotta be a little careful. g3 does parry all these cruel intentions, but gotta be a little careful, as mentioned. Always keep an eye out for checkmates in one move. You don't want to get checkmated, especially not in one move. Like, it's still painful if it's in 3 moves, but in one, the embarrassment is just shame. Can't live with the shame of missing mate in 1. It does happen to the best of us. Even Vladimir Kramnik missed it once. But see, I'm still bringing it up. That's why I'm saying shame. Well, if you blunder a pawn, like, no one's going to remember. But checkmate in 1, man, not going to be able to do it. How could you live with yourself? Unless you're one of these weirdos who don't define their self-worth by their accomplishments in blitz games. But I don't know any such people. My idea is to mate rook takes a7 with b6. I'll still go b6, even though that he did not recapture makes this a little less fun. Because bury the pawn is probably not gonna see the promised land on a7. Is that a religious expression, the promised land? Because I just say stuff, and sometimes I don't even know what it means. I still get in trouble. I don't know. I'll look it up. The promised land. Where is it? Promised Land is the name of a couple cities in the United States. Promised Land, Arkansas, Promised Land in Louisiana. That still does not answer my question, really. But for now, I'm gonna keep targeting this queen, hoping it goes here, because then after bishop b5, not a lot of squares left anymore, if you ask me. And you're probably asking me. Queen e8, now he could block this bishop b5 invasion. That's why I thought, let's bring the knight first. Have him follow the... Martin was talking about the Promised Land. It's the land promised and subsequently given by God to Abraham. That's why we're doing this show. We all learned something again. Probably not all of us. I did. And Trollfjord Paddler decides not to troll me by continuing this game, because the only square the queen has is queen d7, when after bishop b5 or rook takes b7, the black position is pretty thankless. Yeah, I believe this line he chose in the opening is already quite pleasant for me. This move d5 feels wrong here, like cd, ed, and now you go d5 or castles, it's the main line. And this position, while not exactly winning, I had the feeling was already easier to play with white. Let's play another chess game. But who do we face? Let's play our old friend, Professor Moriarty. I have a feeling, yeah, we've played before. And I've wondered if there should be this I in your name. Because Moriarty, it's the Sherlock Holmes villain, right? He's like the major force of evil. But I always thought he had less eyes. Moriarty. But then again, I don't really know how to spell it, but yeah. There are people called Moriarty. Maybe that's just the thing. Real J. Moriarty. But yeah, Professor Moriarty is a fictional character. That's fiction. In some of the Sherlock Holmes stories written by Sir Edgar Allan Poe. No, that was a lie. Written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Moriarty is a criminal mastermind whom, well, nowadays we would say who, but you can leave it in there, Wikipedia, who Holmes describes as the Napoleon of crime. Let's hope Moriarty is not the Napoleon of chess. Doyle lifted the phrase from a Scotland Yard inspector who was referring to Adam Worth, a real-life criminal mastermind and one of the individuals upon whom the character of Moriarty was based. The character was introduced primarily as a narrative device to enable Conan Doyle to, spoiler alert, to kill Sherlock Holmes, and only featured in 2 of the Sherlock Holmes stories. However, in many adaptations, he has been given a greater prominence and treated as Holmes' archenemy. I would say so. Anyway, thanks Wikipedia for informing us. While in the chess game we're playing against Moriarty with the extra I, we are discussing a line of the French Tarrasch. And by discussing, I mean he's making the moves that are probably theoretical, while I'm hoping that mine are as well, because I might have mentioned this before. Not a French expert. Not a doctor. Hang on, was there this crazy line? Bishop d6, knight f5? Is that what they do? Is that this line? I've seen something like this. Wouldn't say I've studied it. Probably it's a draw, like all these forced lines. Bishop d6, knight f5, bishop h2, king h1. Then something, castles, I guess. I don't know. We might find out. You can also play bishop e7 or bishop c5, I guess. And then I'll just put my pieces somewhere. Queen f3, bishop f4. Hope for the best. Bishop d6 does look very critical. I'm not forced to play knight f5. I could just play h3. But I'll probably do it, because it looks nice and active. H6. Feels a little slow. I'm scrolling through the chat, and there's a question if I'm familiar with the Timati or Taimadi, I don't know how it's pronounced, song Money in the Bank. No, Money in the Bank, isn't that a wrestling term? I was trying to use it as a wrestling reference. Isn't that Money in the Bank? I'm sure it's been used in other contexts than wrestling, but yeah, the first hit is WWE, Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is a professional wrestling pay-per-view event produced annually by the World Wrestling Entertainment, who used to be called WWF, but I'm guessing there was some tension with the World Wildlife Fund, so they had to change their name. And I'm sure Moriarty would like to change his move, because bishop f4 is like feeding a bishop to a very greedy baby. Me being the very greedy baby, dropping a piece, and therefore he resigns instantly. Sorry, Moriarty. I believe h6 is too slow, and if memory serves well, this is the critical line. Something like this was some madness here. I can't recall the details. It's probably a draw. But yeah, thanks for playing. Let's dive into the unknowns. And I'm saying that because I'm playing AIS Thesis. And 1500 normally means this is his first ever game on Chess24. So he could be world champion of chess. No, that's unlikely, because from what I heard, Magnus Carlsen is embarking on a long holiday after the World Championship match and is probably not here playing me today. So he could be world champion of chess, or he could be a total beginner, even though he blitzes out knight f6, e6, which normally says not a total beginner. d5, d4. Now we're back into Queen's Gambit territory. Many a move has been played here. Bishop e7, arguably the most popular, the Queen's Gambit declined mainline. I have a feeling I'm not getting my money's worth here. AIS Thesis keeps blitzing out mainline moves. Probably not a 1500 player. So I'm scared. c5, knight e4, knight h5, c6, all legal moves. Let's see which one the thesis has in mind. And if I have the antithesis. Is that a word? Let's hope so. Knight h5, arguably the main move, forcing me to accept this slightly crippled structure. But in return, white gets a lot of space. But still, this is all mainstream theory. Mr. AIS knows what he's doing. That's what you get for entering this 1500 box of chocolate. Maybe it is the world champion of chess. Or the vice world champion. I was always wondering that. If you lose a world championship match, do you get the vice world champion title? Is Sergei Karyakin the vice world champion of chess now? I don't know how it works. I would guess so, but I'm not sure if that's the system. Was that not a title in English lingo? In Germany, because we don't care much about winning. It's a big thing, like Vize-Weltmeister. I'm guessing it's a thing in English lingo as well. Hang on. There's some line where you got all these tricks with b5, cb, c6, but I'm guessing it's not this position. Or is it? How can I know all these things, AIS thesis? You can't just show up here with your 1500 rating and expect me to be ready for this theoretical debate. I'm just here to talk nonsense. Sad but true. And to never look into the camera, because like looking straight at the board is there, looking at the chat, and my little video tool is here, and looking at the camera is there. So there's just too many things to look at. Very hard. Queen a8. It's really asking for it. Yeah, I can't control myself any longer. Must go for breakthrough. My point is that now after bc5 I do have a knight fork in form of knight c7. I don't know how to meet rook c8 yet, but I will think about that once we get there. c6 is currently on top of my list. If that makes sense, is a completely separate discussion. We'll find out. It's not an unknown idea. I've seen people do this in similar situations, just trying to keep especially the rook on a6 boxed in for now, and then try to use the time where black has to untangle to do something somewhere. Rook takes c6. I could even try to fight for the c-file, I would guess, because this rook is quite passively placed. Now knight c7 is a threat again, and we'll see if that pawn sacrifice proves its worth. Still, AIS thesis. It's a tough cookie. Queen c8. I can't win material. I would really like to win material, like soonish. Maybe I can't. But I want to. Don't tell me you can't always get what you want. Guess it's true though, huh? Nah, I don't see it. Do I have to eat humble pie? I don't like humble pie. I'll eat humble pie. Queen e1 might look very weird, and it is, but there was some logic to it, I thought. I don't know what that logic is now. My point was that after rook c4 I have knight d2, and also to keep this queen on the e-file for potential f5s. But still, it does not feel like this is a priority in this position, and I'm now sad about my decision in what felt like a well-played game, but maybe there was just not enough to work with. Not sure. We'll find out. Too early to beat myself up, because I still do have pretty good compensation for the pawn. Even after rook a8, it's not obvious what's next, or I would hope so at least. So I'll try to keep strengthening my grip on the queen side a bit by going a4. Now next I want to take on rook c1. Not sure. I wish I had time to make a little luft with g3. It's always important in these positions to give your king some breathing space, just to prepare for the wars to come. Why do I keep using the wars to come as if that's a phrase? Not sure if it is. Rook c4 is now potentially a problem. I'm probably going to win on time. That's the one problem that AIS thesis has. But so far he's playing a very good game. Now I might take his pieces, right? Knight c5, and you could claim some compensation. But yeah, things have turned my way here. Big theory debate against Mr. Theses. Let us play one last game and then let's go home. It's Friday, right? Is it Friday? I lost track of like weekdays during the World Championship. I believe it's Friday. Who do I play? I'll choose blindfolded. If I choose a non-premium, I'm gonna have to resume. And also, the trouble with this blindfold thing is I can't really see where I'm clicking. So I don't even know. Did I click on? Oh! What is this? Mr. Karpov's Putzfrau himself. That is a very pleasant surprise. I'm very familiar with Mr. Putzfrau, and I will crush him and his sort of goofy ideas about chess openings, offering this pawn. And I know that he's already steaming after I played 3e4, not accepting his pawn sacrifice. And there we go, he's trying to spice it up from the get-go, or from the gecko, as some illiterate people, not me, but like to say. And I should probably focus, because Karpov's Putzfrau is actually a very, very dangerous tactician. And I know he doesn't want any queen exchanges, so here he's gonna think about fe knight e4, bishop g4. Bothers him a little bit that I can go ed6 and ruin his structure then, but probably not enough. ed6, queen d7. I don't know, but he goes fe knight e4, he's gonna go d5 or bishop f5. I don't know his style as well as I thought I did. How do I punish here? Let's go here for starters. Now, I think I'll keep this pawn alive for the time being, and maybe even longer than that. Karpov's Putzfrau drew the other day against Paul Borta, which is why I probably wouldn't have chosen him. Too much Banter Blitz exposure for Karpov's Putzfrau is not good for anybody, but since I was choosing blindfolded, I did not see what was going to happen. Bishop g5, queen b2, bishop d8, nah, who cares? Queen c3, I have knight d2, so it's not life-threatening. Then again, it is the type of position where the Putzfrau, which loosely, or pretty much exactly, translates to cleaning lady, excels. Karpov's translates to Karpov's. He's contemplating bishop c2. He's annoyed that then I can go rook c1, which would more or less force a queen exchange. Therefore, he goes for this. I'm not sure I can read him like a book, but I like to pretend that I do. Knight f6. How can I punish him for all his sins? There's some activity that black has, so it's not completely obvious. b1 could be a move. Bishop c2, queen c1. Yeah, let's try that. Interesting position. I should be better, because I deserve to be, and yeah, rules of chess and all that stuff. But it's a mess, and I didn't want a mess. Because the Putzfrau is here to clean up messes. We'll see how it goes. Should also speed up a little bit. But just a little bit. 28 seconds for rook b1. I can see the moves here and how much time I spent on them. You should not spend 28 seconds on many moves in a 3-minute game. But it looks like Karpov's Putzfrau is about to do the same. Goes knight a5, and I will start blitzing. Not because bishop d3 is a good move, but because I did not want to spend all this time again. To take on g6 or not? Not sure. Knight e4 feels wrong. I think I should have taken on g6. Yeah, I'm starting to drift. Tokyo drift. Queen c6. Okay. Let's get some pieces out. I'm mainly playing on time, but Mr. Putzfrau is a very dangerous bullet player, so you can't celebrate until the job is done. And when the job is done, then you must learn how to celebrate. See, he switched to pre-moving mode. I've switched to taking stuff mode. We will see which mode is more effective. Trying to show off here mainly, which is always a dangerous thing. Yeah, don't show off. I can't see a move. That was dumb. Couldn't see a move. Panic. Run, Harry. Not even Prince Harry. This might become Queen Harry, this dude. Any last tricks? Gimme. I do have more queens, which is normally a good starting point. I'm not the fastest of players, but I was ahead on the clock. And I did manage to win this thriller against Karpov's Putzfrau. So thanks Karpov's Putzfrau for playing. It was an interesting fight as usual. Alright, that I believe does bring us to the end of today's show. Thank you guys for taking part in all the fun. No I'm sorry section today, cause I'm sorry but I just don't have the time for it. I'll go home, so should you. You probably are already home, aren't you? And have a nice weekend. Enjoy the amount of sleep you can get if you're in Europe, now that you don't have to watch World Chess Championship every night. And I will see you next time. I believe next show is on Monday in German, because I do speak that language. Bit of Geschwätzblitz. German speakers. Check that one out. See you then. Later. I have to look away to click that button.